Alright, not gonna lie, when I first started looking into headphones and I came across IEMs, I really wasn't into it. I thought they looked uncomfortable, they were weird. The weird waifu shit on the box isn't for me. But I went out on a whim this weekend and picked up the Truth Ear Zero Reds, the Critical collab, and they're pretty damn good. And it got me thinking, are IEMs actually better for gaming than headphones are? So I want to put it to the test. The best budget IEMs versus the best budget headphones in each respective category. Which one's better for gaming? Well, there's only one way to find out. So why these two? First, they're both highly recommended in their respective categories. So odds are if you don't already own one of these, you've probably heard of them before. And if you're just getting into the hobby, you're definitely gonna hear a lot about these two going into it. Second, they're both really easy to drive, so no need for an amp or a DAC. And third, they're both considered budget in each respective category. Now, I know there's a big price difference between the two, these being 50, these being 220 MSRP. But the reality of it is headphones are a lot more expensive than IEMs. So I guess that's one point right off the bat for IEMs. They're a hell of a lot cheaper than headphones. These are some really solid IEMs for only $50. I see them recommended a ton out there for people just getting into the IEM space, whereas these are also highly recommended for people just getting into the headphone space. But again, they come in at $220. Now I'm sure there's some cheaper headphones you could go for, some more expensive IEMs you could go for to kind of even out that drastic price difference between the two. Reality is I can't try them all. So if you've had some experience with a similar product on the IEM or the headphone side, please drop it below for anybody new looking for some more options out there, since I, like I said, can't get my hands on all of them. Now I've been comparing the two of these the past week or so, just trying to get a better idea generally of what I think would cater better for gaming, IEMs versus headphones. Now with that being said, before I go any further, I just want to put it out there, quick note, sound is subjective. And anything I mention that could be subjective towards me, since I might like something you don't like, I'll try to make note of that and give another option for somebody who likes maybe the opposite of what I like. So without further ado, with all that out of the way, IEMs versus headphones. So first thing I want to talk about is comfort. My first impressions when taking a look at IEMs versus over-ear headphones is that headphones were going to be much more comfortable, but I was not wrong, but also not for the right reasons. These things just kind of disappear after a while. You put them in your ear and forget about them, and you don't even really notice them the rest of the day. They're way less noticeable than I thought they were going to be, and although I do still think headphones are more comfortable, the over-the-ear ones, I would say that IEMs aren't really as uncomfortable as I originally anticipated. Now, where they do become uncomfortable is when I get up to go to the bathroom or grab a drink and I rip them out of my amp. They're much more cumbersome to take out and put back in, especially if you're gaming and you kind of forget about them, and then you go to the bathroom, come back, it's kind of like you have to look to find out which one's left, which one's right. With over ears, I don't need to explain it, but you just put them right on. When you gotta go to the bathroom, you take them right off. It's super easy. So although my actual gaming experience didn't have the uncomfort from the IEMs that I was expecting, the uncomfortable part was the unexpected, which is every time I get up to grab a drink, go to the bathroom, etc. So now on to sound. Like I said, this isn't a comparison of the Zero Red versus the HD560S in particular. It's more of a general comparison of IEM versus headphone in general. So I'm not going to go too into depth about the different tonalities and frequencies and my opinions on the Truth Ear Zero Red versus the HD560S, because that's not what this video is about. What's more important is once you make a decision between IEM or headphone, you take a look at that specific category and your specific price range, and then you make a decision based on the options that are there. But with that being said, there is a difference between IEMs and headphones that I think I can generally make when it comes to sound. First, forgive me if I'm using this word wrong. I couldn't find the glossary of it out there on the headphone space, but I want to call it acoustic impedance. So my experience with these is you're going to get a lot more closer sound, and it's going to sound much more in your head and tight rather than open and wide. And I think this is true even with closed back headphones, and I know they make open back IEMs, but I don't think they're like truly open back as open back headphones would be. But my experience gaming is that the IEMs were nice and I could point out a lot more details because of it being so much more closed in. But the problem with that is when playing a game like Call of Duty where there's a lot going on, it can get very hectic and a little bit overwhelming at times. With the over-ear headphones, it felt like everything had a little bit more room to breathe, and when there's a gunfight going on, bombs going off, it wasn't so hectic in my brain. So for a game like that where there's a lot going on at once, especially on small maps like Rust, I would recommend something like an open back headphone. Now, too much soundstage, or the way that the headphones make the room feel, how big or small everything feels, can actually be detrimental when gaming as well, because things that aren't actually that far away may sound too far away. An example of this is I was playing Alan Wake 2 with my Hi-Fiman HE400 SE, and they have a really wide soundstage, and the sheriff was talking to me from like 5 feet away and I could barely hear him. I swapped over to my PC37X, which are still open back headphones but don't have as wide of a soundstage, and it was much easier to hear what the guy was saying, who was again only like 5 feet away from me. So that's something to take into account when shopping on the headphone side of things. A wide soundstage is nice. It can really help to separate the audio and all the different elements, but it can also be too wide at times. Now, an example where that more closed in sound that the IEMs tend to represent a little bit better is games like Valorant or Apex. A game where it's relatively quiet most of the time, but you're really trying to pinpoint those enemy movements and footsteps and focusing on those small little details. Having everything feel a little bit more closed in can be nice because it can kind of help your subconscious brain when you're kind of making those calculations of where the enemy could be, using your map knowledge, using your game knowledge, and now you have that sound right up in your head as well. It can all really mesh together and make for very quick and accurate plays. But again, I'm sure that's achievable with a closed back pair of headphones. I just find that having the IEM directly in my ear makes my decisions a little bit more quicker. So speaking on decisions, I want to talk about imaging real quick. I think having imaging is important, but I don't think that you should spend your time looking into the headphone or IEM that has the best imaging out there. And here's why. You're not going to become a better gamer by having the audio cue of exactly where that enemy is matched up with your brain and being able to turn. What's more important is, like I said earlier, that subconscious knowledge of the map and the game itself. Where enemies could be on the map, how many enemies are around you based on how many enemies you've seen up till this point, etc., etc. That map and game knowledge is going to take you far further than headphones that can pinpoint accurate which direction the enemy is coming from. So I think everybody puts a large emphasis on imaging because it's super important to have it. If you're just listening through shitty monitor speakers, you're obviously not going to be able to tell if the enemy's on your left or your right. But I don't think it's super important to look for a headphone or IEM with the best imaging out there, because I think your map knowledge and game knowledge is going to take you a lot further than that. All right, so with my hot take out of the way, sorry we got a little bit off track there. I just wanted to point out that I don't think imaging is super important, and I don't think IEM or headphone does it better than the other. But what I do think is important is trying to decide based on the games you play and what you like as a listener if you want something a little bit more open or a little bit more closed in. And last thing I want to talk about, it's a little bit self-explanatory, but convenience. IEMs are a hell of a lot more convenient than headphones. Now, I mentioned headphones are a lot more convenient while you're gaming if you're getting up a lot to go to the bathroom or get a drink of water, but IEMs are much more convenient in every other facet. If you game on the go a lot, maybe on a laptop, or you go to a friend's house, these are a lot smaller. They're a lot easier to pack away in your bag. I've been playing the Switch at night a lot lately. It's super easy to plug these into the Switch or into my phone to listen to music, and then when I'm done, I can just roll them up, throw them in my nightstand, and then go to bed. I don't have to worry about putting these on top of the nightstand and my cat's knocking over water on them or knocking them off and possibly breaking them. And they don't take up a huge amount of space on your desk, so if you have a small desk and you're kind of cramped for space, these are going to take up a lot more space than being able to roll these up and just throw them in a drawer somewhere. So final consensus, I don't know if you saw this coming, but I don't think one is better than the other. I think it depends on you and your specific use case. If you're somebody who plays games and you feel like you're always looking for detail, you want a more closed in sound so you can really focus on what's going on and have the most fast, accurate response time as possible, then IEMs might be a better option for you, even compared to closed back headphones. I feel like having them physically in your ears rather than sitting on the outside and pushing the audio towards your ears helps to be able to have those fast and accurate response times. If you're somebody who plays games where there's a lot going on at once, there's a whole bunch of different sound cues, there's music, there's bombs going off, there's gunshots being fired, maybe you want a little bit more separation, I feel like an open back headphone would benefit you more. And even more important, if you're on a budget and you're currently using a TV or a monitor and you just want something to play games with, IEMs are going to be really great sound for way less money than a solid pair of headphones. And just remember, at the end of the day, it's all about you, what you like most, what your preferences are. When you go deeper into specific headphone and specific IEM recommendations, you're going to find people are going to recommend certain things for gaming, like a more neutral frequency response graph. But we all have different ears, sound is subjective, so don't forget to lose touch with just picking what you like. But that's going to be it, headphones versus IEMs. I hope this gave you a little clearer picture of some of the major differences between the two and deciding which road you want to go down. Like I said, in the future, I would love to be able to do a little bit more in-depth analysis of different IEMs and different headphones, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one, and have a happy holiday. Peace.